5 years in Spain, and I've fallen deeply for this country. Wonderful people, incredible food, and a delicious way of life. But there's something more about Spain that keeps me here, that draws me to this place. It's a fascination, in large part for its history, a fascination about a history that is so dramatic, so spectacular, at times sad, and a history, a past that seems constantly so present, so with us in the here and now. And I've come up to the Valley of the Fallen, a vast basilica just to the north of Madrid. It's a basilica that's carved out of the side of the mountain. And I've come up because this week marks the 40th anniversary of the death of Francisco Franco, the dictator who ruled this country for 40 years, from 1939 to 1975. Inside, thousands of Spain's Civil War dead lie, as well as Franco himself in a tomb with fresh flowers lying on his grave. And I've come up with Spain-based journalist and writer Guy Hedgecoe, who's just published an essay called Freezing Franco, about how this country is dealing with its past 40 years on from Franco's death. And this seemed like a fitting place to ask him the question, 40 years on, does Francisco Franco continue to haunt Spain?
Well, in some very obvious ways he does. You know, I'm thinking here of symbols of Franco and his regime, such as street signs that still bear his name, or the names of members of his regime, or his generals from the Civil War. And above all, you have the biggest symbol of all of Franco and his regime, and that's this place, the Valley of the Fallen, where he was buried. So, this is a place which very much glorifies Franco. It's not a place of national reconciliation by any means. It's a place that represents his ideology of national Catholicism. So yes, in some ways, Franco is very much around us still in a very sort of physical way, if you like.
So I mean, we can touch and we can feel things that are here from the regime, but on a political level, does he haunt the country?
Well, it's important to point out that Spain doesn't have a far-right political party of any real weight. And one of the reasons for that is that the governing Popular Party, the party which governs Spain right now, is a party which includes politicians of many stripes across the right of the centre. But also, it's important to point out that party was founded by former members of the Franco regime. So it has its roots in the Franco regime. That's not to say it's a far-right party, but the Popular Party, therefore, has traditionally opposed efforts to try and look back at Spain's violent recent past, look back at the Civil War and the Franco regime, and look at the historical memory issue. It really doesn't like the idea of doing that, and has opposed initiatives to do so.
What they often say is they don't want to open old wounds. So does this mean that the country is in deadlock? I mean, have attempts been made to deal with the past?
Well, in 2007, the socialist government, José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, did approve a historical memory law. It sought to give some kind of moral, a kind of abstract compensation to victims of Franco, who felt they had not been acknowledged before. So that in itself was some kind of step. But the general feeling was it was a law which didn't really go far enough. Certainly those who wanted to see reforms in that area felt that it hadn't gone far enough. And proof of that is the fact that these street signs bearing Franco's name, for example, can still be found. That part of the law was to get rid of those symbols, and they're still there, many of them.
And so where are we at now? We have this place behind us, the Valley of the Fallen, which feels like a bit of an anachronism in Western Europe in some ways. What's going to happen with this place?
Well, again, efforts have been made by that same socialist government. In 2011, that socialist government commissioned a group of historians to decide what to do with the Valley of the Fallen. Their conclusion was that this place should be transformed into a centre of national reconciliation, and that Franco's body should be dug up and buried somewhere else, somewhere less divisive and less high profile. Nothing happened to that. That report was basically ignored by the Popular Party government. But in writing my essay, I spoke to a historian called José Álvarez Junco, who was invited to take part in that commission of historians. And he refused. He said he didn't want to be part of that commission because he felt it was simply impossible to turn this place into anything other than a place that glorified Franco. He said it couldn't be a place of national reconciliation. And I think that very much represents, that encapsulates how difficult it is, not just to do anything to make this place a place of reconciliation, but the whole issue of historical memory in Spain. It's very divisive. You have many Spaniards who want, for example, their parents or their grandparents maybe were killed by the Franco regime and left in mass graves. They want them to be dug up and to be given proper burials, but they're not getting any state backing for that. They feel they should, but others, particularly on the political right, feel that that's unnecessarily digging up the past. And there's a basic lack of consensus in Spanish society on this issue.
The sun's going down over the Valley of the Fallen, and it's getting cold. If you're visiting Spain, I do encourage you to read a little bit about this country's 20th century, because I think an understanding of the complexities of the last 100 years in Spain will really enrich your experience of visiting this country in the present. Thanks for watching.